Have you found yourself wondering, what is this Bitcoin thing that I keep hearing about? Nobody's really been able to explain it to me, and every time I go to try to learn about it, I just get more confused. Well, if this is you, then this video was made specifically for you. And I'm going to attempt to teach the fundamentals of Bitcoin in the simplest, most complete explanation that you've ever heard, that even grandma can understand. And here's the thing, I'll share it with you in an acronym. The acronym of Bitcoin, B.I.T.C.O.I.N. All right, welcome back. Well, if you're new to the channel, my name is Ben Ward, and in this channel, I talk about leadership and what it takes to succeed at a high level. And today, I'm gonna veer off the normal path a bit to talk about what I believe will be the leader. Speaking of leadership, this is a leadership channel, the leader of finance into the future. And this technology is being adopted faster than anything that's ever been invented, and it's happening globally everywhere. The reality is very few people really even know that this is happening, and even less understand what this technology really is, what it does, and why it's so powerful. So I've been involved and invested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies over the past 5 years, and I've been obsessed with learning all about them and trying to understand them because it's a whole different language. And what are their use cases? What's the purpose of it? What does it do and how does it work? Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so these are just my opinions, and I consider it edutainment. But having said that, my thoughts are based on a ton of research and thousands of hours that I've personally put into to really wrap my head around what this technology is. And so I want to share with you today what I've learned. What is Bitcoin? And I'm confident you're going to get a ton of value from this video. And so if you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. I want to hear from you either way. But tell me in the comments what I can do better for you. All right, let's go. So the acronym Bitcoin. The B stands for blockchain. Now, you've probably heard that word, but what is a blockchain? A blockchain is a decentralized financial ledger. All it is at its very core is it's a record of credits and debits that track transactions. And blockchain does that without central authority. And so the word blockchain, two words combined together, is what's used to describe a process where blocks of data are chained together to store information that cannot be changed. Hence, blockchain, that's what it is. Blocks of information chained together. And Bitcoin was the world's first blockchain, and it's built on what we call today blockchain technology. So let's take a look at how this works. And this is gonna be a super oversimplified example, but if I wanted to buy a watch from you and pay for it through like a debit card, credit card, check, more likely Venmo if it's peer-to-peer, or PayPal, or some technology like this. And once we agree on a price, say $100, my bank, let's call it Chase, interacts with your bank, let's call it Wells Fargo. So Chase would take $100 away from their ledger, and Wells Fargo would add $100 to their ledger, and they would assign that $100 to your account, both giving each other permission, Chase and Wells Fargo, permission to transact for me to spend my money to buy your watch. Does that make sense? And then you receive it per their permission. Now, all this happens behind the scenes, so we really don't even think about it. But your bank and my bank give us permission to have this transaction go through, and both they track their transaction on a centrally controlled ledger, their bank ledger. And so each bank has its own private ledger that's centrally controlled by their governing corporate body, and then audited by an outside third party, all within the regulations of the local government. And if you're operating outside of locally, you're having different governments interacting with each other to make it happen. Okay, so here's the thing. For the first time ever, blockchain technology allows people to transact directly with each other without someone in the middle. And so blockchain technology removes the middleman, taking away the unnecessary power from the banks, including to control your money and charge expensive fees. And so we'll talk more about how specifically technically this works as we go through this acronym of Bitcoin. So that's the B, the blockchain. the I in this acronym of Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? So the I is internet money. So money is language we use to communicate value to each other. Right? So Bitcoin is peer-to-peer electronic cash. And it's what I believe will be the native currency of the internet in this digital age. It's the first global digital monetary system. And it's a non-political standard of value. Like every political party has a standard of value, and you have fiat currency, which is backed by government. Not backed by anything but the good trust, good faith of a government. So it's called fiat, or by decree. It's what the word fiat means when you hear that. By decree. So I decree, I say it's worth something, so it is. And governments say this money is worth something, so it is. And since 1971, when Richard Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard, the US dollar has become fiat, backed by decree, backed by the government. Okay, so Bitcoin is a non-political standard of value, and no one anticipated commerce taking place on the internet when the internet was formed. But we're now seeing payments platforms built out all over the place, and financial services infrastructure being built into the internet ecosystem everywhere, right? You know what I'm talking about. And so today, almost every company on the planet taps into the internet to operate their business, and then they tap into another API that allows them to transact on the internet. And so Bitcoin's founder or founders, we don't know if it's a he, she, they, them, but the founder used the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, and whose identity has been unknown since its inception 13 years ago. Fun fact, Satoshi in Japanese means wisdom, and Nakamoto means central intelligence. And I think the founder's message of Bitcoin to the world is that there's wisdom in taking financial control away from central authority. That's just my two Satoshis, my 2 cents. So Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, said, Bitcoin is the apex property of the human race. It's like owning a digital block of Manhattan in cyberspace. Michael Saylor's put his money where his mouth's at. He originally invested $1.6 billion in Bitcoin and put from his balance sheet and put it into Bitcoin. Now here's a few key properties of Bitcoin. It's available 24/7. It's scarce. There's a fixed amount that cannot be added to. It's fungible. We'll talk about what that means. It's durable, and it's the hardest money we have ever had in existence. And now let me explain these. So it's available 24/7. The Bitcoin network never closes or sleeps. Now, unlike banks or the stock market that open, and close every day around 5 o'clock local time, and they're closed on weekends and holidays. And with Bitcoin, you can send money in the middle of the night on any weekend, any holiday, anywhere in the world, 365 days a year, very quickly and very inexpensively. And if you need to send money on a Friday night or a weekend right now with our current financial system, even in this tech era that we're in, it would be faster to hop on a plane on a Friday night or a weekend with a suitcase full of cash and take it there yourself on a flight from Southern California to Sri Lanka. It would be faster to just take it there yourself than to wire it or try to use the current infrastructure of sending money across the world. But with Bitcoin, money transfers can be sent and received across the globe in as little as 10 minutes and at a super low cost. And all you need is an internet connection. Bitcoin is scarce. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that can ever be mined. It's built into the code. Now, one Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million Satoshis. And this number is built into the code. So to add to its scarcity, it's deflationary with a 4-year halving cycle, where the supply cuts in half every 4 years. Bitcoin is fungible, meaning it's interchangeable with equal parts, kind of like oil or lumber or fiat money like pennies or nickels or quarters or dollars. It doesn't matter which dollar bill you hold. If you hold a dollar, it's worth the same amount as all the other dollars of like kind in existence, right? So the dollar is fungible or it's interchangeable. And so there's an example, these 2 quarters. It doesn't matter which quarter that I give or you give me. If it's a quarter, it's worth the same amount. It's worth 25 cents. It's fungible. It's interchangeable. You can use that quarter at a store and they'll take it as a quarter. They might give you change They give you some pennies and nickels, and those are interchangeable. You can use those anywhere. If you use a dollar, they give you quarters back. It doesn't matter which quarter they give you. They're fungible, interchangeable. Okay, so Bitcoin is durable. It's hard money. It's often referred to as digital gold because gold historically has been the hardest money that we have. And Bitcoin is arguably 100 times more durable than physical gold. And it's also thermodynamically sound, meaning that it's a pure closed system with no energy leakage or inflation. For example, fiat or government-backed currency basically is paper money, leaks energy or value in the form of inflation, a built-in inflation that's happening. And so that's not thermodynamically sound. It leaks energy. The energy flows out of fiat and into different assets. Fiat currency is not thermodynamically sound. I know those are big words, but it's kind of like a battery losing energy just sitting there even if it's not being used. And Bitcoin is not losing energy as it sits there. It's one of the purest assets that we have. Bitcoin is trustless, meaning it's permissionless and anyone can send value instantly peer-to-peer without permission anywhere in the world. And it doesn't require a bank or some sort of third party to be in the middle of the transaction. And so it's personless. It's not reliant on a single person. There's no throat to choke, so to speak. There's nobody to look to they did this. It's built into this code backed by over 10,000 nodes or miners that are holding accountability on the network. We haven't seen anything like this. They don't know each other. These nodes and miners, they don't know each other, and yet there's that accountability that's happened, and it's powerful. We'll dive into a little bit more of what that looks like as well here. And so with Bitcoin, the unnecessary middleman is eliminated. And it doesn't rely on a political party or a central authority that can be corrupted. So anyone can send value by the way of the Bitcoin network instantly, peer-to-peer, without permission anywhere in the world. So Bitcoin is censorship resistant. Gary Gensler said this, it was profound. He said, Nakamoto solved the riddle. How do you move money without central authority? And Gensler's the SEC chair currently right now serving. And he also was MIT professor who did a whole blockchain course. It's incredible. So the promise of Bitcoin is to transact anywhere around the world without friction. Now, Bitcoin is not censored across borders like other currencies. It's secure, anonymous, and not governed by political law or any central authority. So it's borderless, meaning global, right? It's portable anywhere around the world, and it easily crosses state lines, country borders without being censored by the local government or other authorities or other people or other companies. Try mailing money untampered to a friend in need in the Philippines and see what happens as it crosses the border, right? I remember I sent money one time to my brother Reed, who lived in Mexico at the time. And he reported that he received a letter, but there was no money in it. And so that envelope was broken into and the money was taken out by who knows, but somebody along the way as it exchanged. And from my hand to the different hands to my brother's hand, he didn't get that money. It was censored. And so Bitcoin is censorship resistant. And so similarly, money often gets caught between borders when making cross-border payments, right? So Bitcoin solves this. And in a more global world with accessibility and Zoom communication, Bitcoin becomes the native currency of the internet, in my opinion, into the future. And so there's no person, there's no government that can interfere or censor or seize or take out in between your transaction, no matter where you send it, anywhere around the globe. Also, Bitcoin is open source. So Bitcoin is built on an open, this is important because it's open and it's distributed ledger. Anybody can look at the code. Being open is about access control. Who has access to the data? And with Bitcoin, everybody does. You do. Right now, you go into the Bitcoin ledger and see openly. Now, it doesn't reveal any names. You don't have names, but the code is open. And actually, it's a nightmare for criminals to transact with Bitcoin. And early on, people were like, oh, only drug dealers and bad people trying to do things to hide it or using Bitcoin. And it had this bad reputation. But the reality is that it's the dumbest place to go to do criminal activity because it's forged onto the blockchain forever. And so it's a lot easier for the government to track and trace and figure out how that happened in order to get the bad guys. So less and less crooks are operating over the Bitcoin network, and it's transparent, meaning anyone can access the full code. They can see the full code and participate in the Bitcoin network. And the source code is available to anyone, anytime, anywhere. If with an internet connection, anyone can copy, download, modify, or even fork the code. And anyone can transact or mine Bitcoin without permission from any central authority, just by deciding to plug into the network, follow the protocols embedded into the code. And so the Bitcoin code doesn't prevent anyone from participating in it in any way that they want, as long as they're following those rules that are backed by over 10,000 people, 10,000 nodes that hold that integrity to make sure that that code is being taken care of. Okay, the I, Bitcoin is interoperable and immutable. So interoperable, meaning it can operate and work with other blockchains. It can also operate with traditional fiat currency systems. So for example, the Mexican peso and the US dollar are interoperable, right? So they've worked out the peso and the dollar, and you can exchange those and interact with each other. You can move pesos into dollars despite different operating systems of banking and regulations and government. Now, Bitcoin can interact with all or potentially all financial systems. It has that potential to anybody who wants to interact in it, you can build that in. Now, Bitcoin can also link with systems to create second and third layer solutions such as Coinbase, which you might have heard of or maybe have started transacting in, or exchanges like Gemini or Binance or Bittrex or any of the exchanges. Now, Bitcoin is also immutable. It cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work that's already been done. So remember the blockchain that forms those blocks every 10 minutes and they're chained together. Once a block is formed, it's immutable. You can't go back and change that block. So you have this storage of data that's stored in the blockchain that's immutable and cannot be changed or tampered with. So to make any changes to the Bitcoin code, you would need a majority of consensus from 51% or more of all 10,000 decentralized nodes across the planet. Now, hacking this or changing a block that's already been formed is highly improbable, although theoretically not impossible. Now, it hasn't been hacked in 13 years, despite the best attempts of the world's most sophisticated hackers trying to break that Bitcoin protocol and hack into it. It would cost somebody hundreds of billions of dollars to even have a chance to pull something off like this, to go and figure out how to get 51% of the consensus and have them agree to making a change to a block that's already been cemented into the blockchain. Okay, I know we're going fast, there's a lot here. I want to give you some of these high levels, there's a few more. So the nodes and the network. You may have heard of Bitcoin mining, and likely seemed like, I don't know if I can really wrap my head around what that is. Well, let's demystify this right now. So the Bitcoin network is comprised of more than 10,000 decentralized nodes, like we've talked about, or nodes are computers working together to mine new Bitcoin. Now, here's how it works. When we say mine, there's 3 keys to understand how the network works together to mine a new Bitcoin. Okay, first, nodes or computers in the Bitcoin network, they compete with each other to validate transactions. So first key to mining, what is Bitcoin mining? Second, to validate a transaction, these nodes or computers, they work to solve complex math equations. And the node that solves the equation first, they earn a reward in Bitcoin. Okay, the third key to understand mining is a new block is mined every 10 minutes. And a block consists of all the information used that validated the transaction. And all this information is compressed, or they call it hashed. Hashed means just compressed together, kind of like a zip file to save space, and it's stored forever as a new blockchain, right? A new block of verified information. And this new block stacks on top of existing blocks, on top of existing blocks, on top of existing blocks. Every 10 minutes, there's a new block formed, linking or forming a sort of chain of blocks. This is what we call blockchain. So this process of nodes or computers or users working to validate transactions within the Bitcoin network is known as mining. The value of this network has been expanding. It expands per Metcalfe's law, by the way. And Metcalfe's law is just the value of the network is proportion to the number of its users. So as the users grow, the value of the network grows. And we've seen this reflected in the price of Bitcoin, as it's been the best performing asset of the last decade. And despite its volatility, it's consistently been the strongest performing asset on the planet since its inception over these last 13 years. Okay, you can go way deeper into all the parts of this video. I gave a high level what Bitcoin is and why it matters, and to start helping you wrap your head around it. To recap, Bitcoin is built on a new technology called blockchain, which is a decentralized ledger. Bitcoin is internet money or peer-to-peer digital cash. It's trustless, it's permissionless. It cuts out the unnecessary middleman. Bitcoin is censorship resistant. It's secure, it's anonymous, it's not governed or controlled by any one political power. This is where you have control over your money. And Bitcoin is open, it's open source, it's transparent, visible for anyone to see and participate in. Bitcoin is immutable, it's unchangeable. Once the block is established, it's not going anywhere. That information, that block is set into the chain forever. Bitcoin is a network of nodes working together in a process called mining, which allows consensus to be achieved without central control. Now, I created this video to help people understand this amazing technology that we call Bitcoin. You've been hearing a lot about it. A lot of it has to do with price. It's not, the price is reflective of the value, right? And that's a true leadership principle, is when you add a ton of value, you know what? The financial part comes. And Bitcoin is not a hoax. Bitcoin is a powerful technology. So I hope the acronym Bitcoin will help you remember what this amazing technology is. And if you want a deeper dive into how the technology works, I recommend watching everything that you can from Michael Saylor, from Anthony Pompliano, from Lynn Alden, from Mark Moss, Kathy Wood, to just name a few, and continue learning all you can about it. There is no doubt in my mind it will be part of our lives as we move forward into the future. So I challenge you to not bury your head in the sand on what this is. Learn about it. Buy a little bit just so you're in it, so you're watching it. Put 25 bucks into it. You can buy any amount. You can buy $5 worth. You can buy $1 worth. And I'm not gonna tell you where to go to get it. You can research, hey, how do I buy Bitcoin? And there's a ton of things you can do there. It is a huge part of, in my opinion, what I believe will be the internet of value into the future, to your success.
Hey Dad, can you check my Bitcoin balance?
Yeah, buddy, come on in.